Okay, this is the next part of the third field energy, still connected with Tesla lightning experiment. But before, we were having difficulty getting the power to be rectified. Now I've added an induction coil with a Tesla bifilar through skottkey diodes on old system again, but it seems to work, and powering the cap bank. So the next phase would be to find out how fast we can charge the cap bank as opposed to how much we're using to power the system. This setup, I have two bifilars on this end, they're not connected. So basically we have the ZVS, again an external battery powering the fan. So ZVS into L1, L2 is inside. That side of L2 goes through to a copper head instead of the aluminium kind that's normally consistent with the Tesla setup. That goes through into a spark gap. I'm having a bit of difficulty at the moment with it, but that goes down through into one leg, one earth. The other side of L2 goes out and through into another leg. And the brilliance of this is raw footage. Anyway, so L3, what we have inside, okay, L3 inside, the two legs are coming out to the induction coil, and then the bifilar setup is one end of one coiling connected to the other end of the other coiling will equal the negative going out through directly to the negative of the cap. The other two legs are positive, which will go in through the diodes, the skottkey diodes, and be rectified and can come into the positive of this cap. The whole thing is then coming into this capacitor bank, and this is what we this is the multimeter. We've got 5.27 volts. Nothing fantastic here, but it's showing that some of the power then now through this method can then be saved and used. So this is just an indicator LED, nothing connected there, just a piece of wire. You'll see that go on. This is just a strip light with a cable I've put under here, so it's earthed instead of holding it in my hand. So I'll just put it on now. So we have indicator light on, we have the strip light on, and you'll see the DC is being collected and slowly increasing. So using the two different methods, I can collect what's going on the inside of this tube. The next will be to try and collect what's going on the outside, and hopefully we'll have an increase again to put back into the input battery, or just disconnect that totally and use these. What I'm trying to show here is again we have the two legs going into the earth not connected, unless you can try and if there's anybody that can tell me going through a piece of stone, if it's not holding any carbon or anything, can communicate the electricity, I'd like to see about that. But right, going back, Colorado, Nikola Tesla lightning experiment. So basically what I've just been investigating is how lightning's formed, and as you know, lightning comes up, or the strongest bolt will come from the ground up. What happens is, firstly, the lightning will come down and cause a pathway then for the positive charge to come up. So what I'm looking at on my systems is the same. I'm trying to find a possibility of using one leg to find a path which will then open up a huge amount, or double the amount of power I'm putting in, which would then allow the systems to run, as with Cabanazza, for example, a good grounding. I believe this is basically what he's looking at. So if we have a Tesla design, and the spark is the power coming back in as opposed to going out, then maybe we can double the amount in the system. Earlier on, you saw a video outside, excuse me, with the two legs and the halogen light. On this design I have a spark and a capacitor. That's yet to be tested. But what I wrote down here was Tesla's lightning experiment, the Colorado Springs. He had a 3-meter diameter copper ball on the end of a tall pole coming out from his workshop. He was pulse pumping electricity at a specific frequency into the earth, and returning electricity was doubling every time. So what I'm looking at is not maybe the ball, because his later design incorporated the aluminium top. And if we coil the height down, we still have the amount of voltage at 300 meters, or however high we need it to be enough with the frequency to be injected into the earth. But I believe that by connecting from this back into itself, that's what Cabanazza's doing. Of course, his design didn't incorporate this. So, next page. So, in another design I'm looking at, we'll have a higher voltage and a more, I should say, controlled frequency with the pulse width modulator. It will give the same effect as earlier, I'm sure. Again, it's lightning or spark gap, however you want to call it. Question is, how do we measure the return? The only way to measure the return is if the system powers itself. So if we have an earth core, plasma core, we pump, we stop, we wait for the return. So on a timed system, we have a ground pump which should be able to receive double the amount back, as opposed to the input frequency that was set in. That's my idea. I'd like to hear comments on that, because I can't find a lot of information on the Colorado Springs experiment, just what the store is. I'd like to find out if there was any links, or if there was any patent information that I can look at. I can't seem to find it, but by using the two kinds of Tesla designs, we can collect an extra amount of energy that I haven't been able to do until now. So yeah, lightning experiment, that's what we need to do, because I believe that's where it is. It's it's in the ground and we're just waiting to find the right tap.